Oh, 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 I can't feel my face. Hello guys, today I want to review, at least talk about my 2014 WRX hatch, which is kind of a leftover from the years before. The 2014 sedan is a completely different car, as most of you know, but I've owned a lot of Subarus, but I've never owned this generation of the WRX model, so I thought it would be kind of interesting to share my thoughts of what I think, some of the pluses and minuses, kind of a very broad review of a bone stock WRX hatch 2014. First off, the first thing I have to talk about is kind of a negative thing. It has nothing to do with the car. It's just because they're so thought after, they're really overpriced. They hold their value too good. So I think I don't know. For me, it's for a person that buys cars all the time, and it's I guess there's a plus and minus. I know that I can always get my money out of it, but it seems, for this type of money, I've paid a lot of. I've bought it used. I've paid about I don't remember, like 23, 24 for it. For this type of money, I could have bought a Beamer 3 Series, and it's a completely different level of car. Now, I'm not going to directly compare this to a 3 Series. It's I don't like people that compare these cars to like a luxury car, because that's not what they are. That's not what they're meant to be. They're just a whole lot of fun. I mean, it is an awesome car. But from a person that owned and test drove almost any type of Subaru you can imagine, there's some disappointments and there's some, I guess, pluses and minuses. I think more pluses than minuses, much more pluses. I mean, I love this car. I absolutely love this car. I know this is a coveted car, and I looked for it for a long time before I bought mine, and it's just an awesome car. Black on black is just beautiful. It is freezing cold outside, and we did wash the car in this freezing cold, but on the way to the shoot it got dirty, so I wasn't gonna go through that hassle again. I don't know. It's just too extreme to wash a car in barely 20 degrees, actually it's less than 20 degrees Fahrenheit, so excuse the dirtiness, but I just I can't deal with the cold, so that's the reason the car is dirty. Going back to the car, it is unusual. First of all, they call it a hatch. I consider it more a wagon, and I love wagons. It's not a negative thing, but it has some power, and it is very zippy, and the all-wheel drive is great, and you can get it in manual. It's kind of nowadays it's an oddball, because now nothing comes in manual and so on and so forth. So to begin, let's just jump right into it and take it for a little spin. Okay, so we put it in first, and so the first thing you notice when you put it in first, the gearbox clutch is very different than regular naturally aspirated manual Subarus, and I think the engagement rate of the clutch is a little what's called close. If you miss it, you're gonna either stall it out or But to be honest with you, I kind of like it. I'm okay with performance clutches. On the street, I can manipulate it, and I won't damage the clutch. I won't burn it. I've been driving manual all my life. But if sometimes you're in traffic and if you want to be sloppy, or if you're just learning to drive, this is not gonna be as easier to learn on than a regular one. And I'm just saying this very loosely, because I personally like it. I really like it. I think people complain the sponginess and stuff like that, and the gear changes are not as crisp as but that's all easily fixed. You just change the bushing, short throw shifter, boom, you're done. I haven't done any of that to this car. I've kept it. It's an absolute virgin. I haven't done anything except put a dash cam on. So that's the first thing that the first comment I have. I guess to me it's a very great thing. It's one of the easiest cars to get off the line quick. You know, it's considering that that's saying a lot. Considering that this is an all-wheel drive car, which, you know, it's tricky to really launch them unless you have like launch control, one of those cars with all those fancy gadgets and stuff like that. So it's easy to launch. It is very easy to launch. I think it looks awesome. I don't care what people say. I love the wide fenders. I love the hatch. I love the wagon look. I think out of all the years they did the hatch or the wagon, whatever you call it, it's one of the prettiest out of all of them, and one of the most aggressive looking. Again, this is just opinionated. A lot of people are gonna really disagree with me. A lot of people consider this butt ugly, but I really think it looks pretty sharp. I love these engines. I mean, a lot of people say nasty things about it. Oh, head gasket this. The head gasket was a problem on the previous generation, so that you know, you still have the valve cover gasket problem once in a while, but that's not that big of a deal. Oh my God, look at this idiot! He's driving the wrong direction. Anyway, so yeah, it is I guess it's a very specific type of car for a specific type of buyer, for a guy that needs the utility, the space of the wagon, and wants it to really accelerate. And I think it's a good looking car. I mean, the interior, you know, a lot of people say it's cheap, and again, I'm not going to compare it to a BMW. I think it's very adequate. I have no complaints. I love the gauge cluster, and I love how it lights up when you put the key in it. And overall, the contrast, the trim contrast, I think it's pretty decent. I mean, yes, again, you don't feel that high-end feeling in it, but nah, that's not what you buy this car for. I mean, honestly, I think the least features on these cars, the better. At least for me, I don't want leather. I don't want anything. I just want it to drive cool, you know, and look cool, and just do what it's intended to do. So the positives, I think, are huge. I mean, I love the all-wheel drive. I mean, I can't talk enough about it. I mean, this is the Subarus. Everyone knows it's. Honestly, I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for this, but I've owned a lot of Audis and I owned a lot of Subarus, and I know that Audi uses different quattro systems. It wasn't used to be like that, but now they use many different quattro systems, and I'm not gonna, again, I'm not gonna compare it to an Audi, but I will say that the all-wheel drive is very good. I mean, it's better than a lot of other cars that I've driven, a lot of comparable cars. I'm more prone to compare the all-wheel drive system to an Audi, just from a practical standpoint, not from sophistication or anything like that, just from getting stuck in the snow and getting out. Now we get to the bad parts, and there's nothing really bad. There's nothing that I can really whine about, but however, there's some things. What I notice is more body roll. I'm not saying that it's not as planted. The suspension is great. You know, it's actually a little smoother than the older ones. The older ones, you know, you could feel every bump, but I kind of I prefer the older ones better because they felt more planted. Again, this is still very planted. It's more, I'm sure it's more planted than the older ones, but it's just the older ones kind of felt they were a little more rigid, felt more rigid, at least I should say. Come to the second point, second negative, that again, it's not a big deal. The steering is a little too light for this type of car. I think it's very it's crisp, it's responsive, it's not vague, but it's a little light. It's you wouldn't expect it to be this light, you know. I was kind of surprised first time I drove one of these when they first came out. I went to my friend, a dealer friend of mine, and he had one on the lot, and I took it out for a day, and that was the first thing that hit me, and it was kind of weird. You expect it to be a little bit more heavier. You know, I'm not talking about like older Beamer type of heavy, but it's kind of really light. I mean, I can just manipulate it with one fingers, which is, I mean, it's just a preference thing, you know. But a lot of people that are driving more performance-oriented vehicles, they tend to prefer a heavier, more responsive steering. The next negative thing that I can think about the car, it has a lot of body panel noise. And this isn't just mine. I've driven multiple of them. I've driven the new one, and well, the new one doesn't. Shortly after a couple of months, it has a lot of. I don't know if it comes through the camera, if you could hear it, but the body panel noise is kind of significant. And for someone anal like myself, this it kind of gets in your nerves after a while. Especially since the suspension is rigid, you know, the body's flexing, so you get a lot of this plastic on plastic type of noise. I don't think, and I might be wrong, but I've owned the older one. I haven't had this. I didn't have the same complaint. I didn't get this plasticky noises and stuff like that. Again, it's very minor. I mean, I have to hit a certain bump at a certain angle to hear, you know, the noise, but and it could be easily fixed, you know. You just take the panel off, put a little, you know, soft or double-sided tape on it or whatever, and it's fixed. But yeah, I just, you know, like I said, the car to me, I think, is really awesome. So I have to really dig around in my mind to figure out what I don't like about it, because you know, I really have no big complaints. And as far as the suspension, you know, if you could easily, you know, put coilovers on it and stuff like that. I mean, going into the next topic, I wish they made this body a little more rigid. The old one felt a little more rigid. At least that's what it feels like to me. This one seems to have more flex. Actually, I'll give you an example. If you lopsided kind of on the hill and stuff like that, the trunk doesn't align. So it doesn't close properly in the back when you go to close the rear gate. On the older one, I never had that problem. So I think rigidity is... But I mean, again, you really have to kind of... you have to do some stuff to it to figure out, you know, to even replicate that problem. So again, nothing concerning, nothing that I could really complain about. So I mean, I guess on the personal level, the thing that bugs me the most is probably the steering. If it was a little heavier, I would be a little happier. But yeah, you know, it's an awesome car. It accelerates awesome. I mean, the fuel economy is acceptable. I wouldn't say it's good on gas, but you know, for a lot of the people that are going to buy these cars, they put a tune on it, and you know, the tune does wonders. For gas mileage. I've never tuned this car. I've tuned the older one. They had the Cobb 2, I believe, and it was actually got better gas mileage. Not to mention it was much ballsier in every way. But yeah, it's pretty cool little zip around car. I mean, I really hope that Subaru introduce a new wagon version of the WRX soon, because I think it's just awesome. The combo is so unusual that you know, that's I'd probably buy a new one too. You know, so it's I would like to see the wagon come back. But just to summarize, I think overall what I think about this car is I think it's awesome. I really love this car. I love the simplicity. I love the, you know, I love the little turbo delay, you know, the turbo lag. It's not significant, nothing, but I enjoy it. I like that, you know, handling characteristics. I think are very good, very good. You can take it around the corner. I mentioned that as a negative and the positive, because the negative aspect, it has a little more body roll than the older one, but it doesn't mean it handles any worse. I think it handles even better. So it's just a perception thing, but it's, you know, really it's it's pretty awesome. I love this car. I think, you know, I kind of understand why it's such a coveted car. You know, why so many people really want to own one. And as much as I don't want to say this, but the truth of the matter, the way I feel, is that the older body style, everything everything before '08, has a little bit of a different personality. It's more of a brutish car, you know, where this is a little more polished, you know, a little bit more sophisticated, but it's the same still brute underneath, you know. And I love the brute. I don't care about the polish. You can, you know, that you can put a brute into the tuxedo, which is fine. I don't care, but I still want that brutish savagery to be there. And I'm not saying that it, you know, it accelerates like a super sports car or anything. No, but you know, it just gives you enough hint that, hey, there's something extra under the hood that kind of puts a smile on your face. And that's what these cars are about. They're not hardcore sports cars. I mean, people make them into hardcore sports cars, which you can do. It's not that challenging considering all the aftermarket parts that they sell for this car. But it's already comes, you know, it already comes with that smile factor, that, you know, that turbo joy, and that's what people enjoy. And you know, the all-wheel drive, the dependability, everything's there. The equation is very good. Now, there's a lot of people that online you'll see that they say, oh, they're not reliable. You're gonna have a piston ring problem, this problem, that problem. Listen, if you don't beat them, you'll be just fine. If you don't beat the crap out of them. The problem is the people that have all these problems are the people that beat the crap out of these cars. And let me tell you, I've owned one. Last one I owned had 230,000 miles, and I've never rebuilt the motor. I've done service, water pump, timing belt, you know, the regular stuff. But I've never had any of the problems that people report with these cars. So it all depends how you treat them. You treat them good, they'll treat you good back. You know, you treat them like crap, they're gonna be like, you know, they'll treat you the same way back. So the whole question, if I had to choose this car over, you know, the previous model, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think I would have both of them. I would. This is why I stopped selling cars, because I keep keeping cars, and you know, there's only so much you can do when you have a, you know, garage full of cars and your backyard is full of cars. It just becomes a crazy addiction. But it is what it is, I guess. So thank you guys for watching. Please feel free to subscribe.